Hey guys and girls, it's Blackjack with 396 Guitars. We have something a little bit different today. I had some questions about how to change a floating bridge on a Stratocaster specifically. In that particular case, it was a off-brand Stratocaster. We'll call it a offshore. So this guitar will work perfectly for that. It's my workhorse. It's a Stratocaster kind of looking guitar. We're going to show you how to pull a floating bridge out, how to put it back in, a new one, and set the guitar up. So let's get to work. So some of you may recognize this guitar. This is actually a $100 guitar that I bought online, and I was setting it up for a potential customer. I ended up getting them a different guitar because, they couldn't get past Garrett. I don't know. I got really lucky with this guitar. The fit and finish was perfect. The neck is nice. I have done a couple of videos on this guitar setting it up. It's ready to play. It's a good guitar. For $100, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And that's what the other videos were for. You can search them. I've seen $100 guitars come, that you order online from any one of those houses, shop at home houses. And sometimes they show up and they're firewood. Literally, they're firewood. This one is not one of them. I actually put this guitar together, made it play, took it to a session and had my guitarist play it, and he goes, well, for a $100 nondescript guitar, it does everything it's supposed to do. And for $100, that's kind of what you expect. So, I digress. Floating bridge, whammy bar, Leo Fender invention. I had some questions about Stratocasters. It's one of the most iconic shapes and designs of a guitar. Everybody recognizes it, whether you're a player or not. But I had some specific questions. I'd like to see a video, and it was more than one person. How do I upgrade? Maybe they had a $100 guitar or a $200 guitar, and they wanted to upgrade the bridge and saddle assembly. This one's not that bad. Like I said, we had this guitar playing and playing well, and it will continue to do that. So I'm going to show how we pull the bridge out. There are 6 screws. Now, before we get to that, the first thing you have to do, you got all this mechanism back here. So what you do is you're going to loosen your claw, which is this mechanism here. You loosen it as much as you can, de-string it, make sure there's no string tension. And what you're doing by loosening the claw is releasing the spring tension. And once you get it loosened up, you loosen it a couple of turns or until you can pull the springs out by hand. Yeah, it's a little scary for someone who doesn't know what they're doing or hasn't ever done it before, but it's not that big a deal. They will pop right out. Eventually, you'll decrease tension on both sides to the point where the springs will literally just pull right out. And what does that do to the other side? Well, now you have no spring tension, and you have no string tension, and your bridge is kind of flopping around. So you unscrew all of the fastening screws. Now there's one caveat. Some of these Fender style guitars will have a 2-point bridge assembly. In other words, there's one screw here and one screw there. Okay, it's a little bit different. The more common one is 6 screws that hold the bridge in place. I've already taken out 5 of them. I'm going to remove the 6th one and show you what is going on here. Some To most people, this is a mystery. This entire mechanism is a mystery, and they don't understand it. So, bang, it comes right out. That is your trem block. That is your bridge, and these are your saddles. Okay, so the whammy bar screws into that hole there, and you blah, blah, blah. Yes, this comes off of here. There are 3 screws under here, usually only 3 screws under here. We're not going to go that far. We don't need to. All right, if you bought this as an upgrade to put in this guitar, it's going to come whole like that. You don't have to separate it. And you got to be careful because, yeah, putting different blocks on different bridges, sometimes it doesn't work. So, clean, always clean, neatness counts, get your stuff out of there, any sawdust or whatever. Yeah, got a big hole in there now. And then you flip it over and the hole goes all the way through, right? Big mystery to a lot of people that don't understand this type of system. And it's just a machine that routes out and drills out these cavities. And yeah, there's usually a lot of crap that you got to get out of the way, but once you get it out of the way, that's some of it's compound, some of it's wood from you can see all the white stuff in there. That's compound from buffing the paint. They don't clean out the inside of the cavity, and this is what you're left with, right? So you've got your new bridge and saddle assembly. That's what you want to put in and upgrade your Stratocaster. Yeah, goes right in there. Now, the next thing is, you look at the screw and you go, well, why are there no threads up here? See, there are threads down here, but no threads here. Yeah. That is a stumbling block for so many people. I can't tell you how many Stratocasters or Stratocaster type guitars that come into my shop, and this is set up completely wrong. And I'll tell you why. Because somebody either didn't know what they were doing and they drive the screw in. This is the mounting screw that holds, there's 6 of them, that holds the bridge and saddle assembly onto the guitar. And they drive it all the way down because they figure, yeah, it's a screw, it has to go all the way down. Well, no. You will notice that there is lift. Let me see if I can get this just right. Right there, you can see where the saddle is lifting off of the body of the guitar, and you don't want that. The only thing that should be lifting that bridge and saddle assembly off of the guitar is spring and string tension. So you drive the screw all the way in, and then you back it out. See if I can illustrate this. You can see right there where the lift is. You back that screw out just until there's no tension on it, and it falls back flat against the body, thusly, right? Now it's nice and flat. Not like this, like that. I know that's hard to see and it's hard to illustrate, but every single one of these mounting screws has to go in all the way. You turn it in, you put one screw in at a time, and I always start in the middle, one in the middle too. You turn it in until it lifts that bridge up, and then you back it off until the bridge falls down. That gives that bridge the movement that it's going to need to use your whammy, if that makes any sense at all. If you put that all the way down and tighten it, guess what? That thing is locked and it can't move. And not only that, it's lifted up off of the body of the guitar, and that's a fail. That's why these screws have that little bit of space right there. so that the bridge can slide up and down off of that non-threaded part of the screw. Simple thing, but everybody gets it wrong. So you go down until it lifts, and then you back it up until it drops, and then one last eighth of a turn, and that's it. Now it's floating. Now it can move. And you do that same process with each and every screw, so that as you put them in, all right, you're going to go down. This one has already been adjusted. Now you're going to start and do them all. You go all the way down until it lifts the bridge off of the body. And you're going to hear it move. It just lifted up right there. You see where it lifted? That's the second screw we're putting in, and then we're going to loosen it until it drops down. There, you just heard it. It dropped down, and then one last eighth of a turn. And then double check your work. That's what it needs to do. This is not like putting a Fender jazz bass together or a fixed bridge, instrument. This needs to be able to move. It needs to be able to go up and down. Right? And when you get done, you're going to find out that they're all exactly the same. If you do it the way I tell you, go down until it lifts the back part of the bridge up off of the body of the guitar. These two are already adjusted. We're going to do the third one. Go all the way down until it lifts that bridge up. And it'll get tight. That's it. It's bottomed out. Then loosen it slowly until the bridge falls down freely, and then one last eighth of a turn. And that should give you your free movement. I'm going to pause while I put the other three in, and then we're going to go to putting the springs and string it and set it up. Stand by. So once you get all of them in, following that procedure, bury it, back it off until the bridge falls back down onto the body of the guitar, and then go an extra eighth of a turn. You want to kind of look down here and check your screw heads. They should all be pretty close to each other. Excuse me. And you should have that sort of lift. You're never, when you're diving on a note, you're never going to need more than that much lift. That's where you're going to be. So what do we do next? Yeah, I'm going to go over. Now remember, your bridge is kind of moving around there. There's nothing holding it. What's going to hold it? The springs in the back. Pretty easy. All right, don't do this, three of them going into the same point in the center. That doesn't hold anything, or like so. You want to put one at the end over here and clamp it. Pull your bridge up and push it in there. It should go in easily because we backed off the claw tension. You follow? Be mindful of your ground wire. And then the center. Now I've seen all kinds of people. Every time I open up one of these, I see this is, that one is over here and this one is over there. Guess which one is actually holding the trem block? Only the center one. All the tension, or half of the tension from the outside springs, is being cut in half. So it's only the center one, which will throw off your adjustment later on. All right, it doesn't have to look like a triangle. This is the way they come from the factory. There's a reason for that. Now, when we go to the other side, now that bridge cannot move because we have spring tension on it, and it's holding it right against the body. That little bit of spring tension is holding it right against the body. The next step is put some strings through it, and then we're going to, once we get string tension, We have to find that equilibrium between the springs on the bottom and the back and the strings on top between the tuning machines and the saddles. And many of you have seen that process, but you just learned how to change a floating bridge. All right. At this juncture, this guitar needs a complete setup, because you not only you loosened the claw all the way out, but you took all the string tension out. You had the springs out, you pulled all this out, and you put probably a new one in there that's upgraded, so it's not going to be exactly like the one that you pulled out. That needs to be addressed, and we'll move on to that momentarily. Now, I'm going to pause while I put all the strings on, get them attached, and then we'll go into how to adjust that guy right there. Stand by. So just to illustrate, we put the strings on, we tuned them up to pitch. Of course, they're not going to stay there because there's all kinds of tension back here that's not on there. But here's what I wanted to illustrate. You put your strings on, get some tension on them, and then look at the yikes moment where your bridge is pulling all the way up off the body. Why is that? Well, because we have springs in the back and we have to find that equilibrium. So what do we do at this juncture? We have to, right now, our guitar strings are pulling up on this bridge and overtaking the spring tension, because remember, we backed this claw all the way out. Now, don't just start screwing those in. You want to pull off. The starting point is going to be, take your string tension off, just knock it off until they're slinky, right? Until they're nice and loose. And your bridge should have fallen almost all the way back down. So a good starting point is to be about 3/4 of an inch away from here. Without knowing this particular instrument, that's a good starting point. Every guitar is different. Every block is different. You know, the trem block, the spring tension, they can vary. There are different springs that you can put into a Stratocaster to pull this trem block up. So you want to get up to just a starting point. You have to start somewhere. Now, some of you have seen me use wooden blocks in here where we disconnect the spring tension, do the setup on the guitar. There's a different way, and this is kind of, you know, not everybody, you know, can grasp that by the comments that I got. We're about an inch away, give or take. That may not be enough. It may be too much. We don't know. But what we're going to do, now we're completely flat right onto the bridge, right onto the deck of the guitar. That's what we're looking at right there. So every once in a while, you're going to flip your guitar up and you're going to look, where is your bridge in relation to the body? We're looking for it to start to lift under guitar string tension. So we go back to tuning it up. And we're going to put tension back on the guitar strings to work against the springs underneath. And this is a tedious process. This will not be a 1, 2, 3 and you're done. Get it up to tension, because you're going to tune this probably 20 or 30 times. All we're trying to do is get tension on here where we know we have tension. So that's it. You tuned it up one time. That's it. Now we're going to eyeball it. And we're going to look right here. Yeah. We're getting exactly the right amount of lift. Now, how do we know it's the exact amount of lift? You use a little measuring tool, 1/16 of an inch. and it should slide under there. It's the same kind of tool that I use to measure pickup height. You can put a credit card under there, but don't put anything that's going to scratch the paint. You know, just a little bit of that. And guess what? Now we're going to tune it again. And yeah, it went all the way flat. We may not have enough tension on the springs, and this is going to happen over and over and over again until the guitar strings stretch and the springs find balance between each other. It could take a long time. And I'm not going to show you every time I tune this. Now, when I get a guitar on the bench, you know, I have something is there already. But when you've taken this all out, now we put more string tension on it, and you can see we lifted up way too much again. So what does that mean? We have to go back here. Now that we're getting close, we don't have to keep de-stringing. All we're going to do is go 1, 2, 1, 2, and then we're going to start that process all over again of tuning and checking our lift here. And you'll know, because if you have to tune up, you're putting more string tension against the springs. And that bridge will keep lifting and lifting and lifting. And then all of a sudden, the wire strings will start to go, oh, wait a minute. See, our lift is not quite as dramatic. So yeah, we go back over here, and we're going to go in another 2 turns. You'll know when you went too far. Now all we're doing is applying more spring tension against your guitar strings on the other side, and eventually it will balance itself and find what? Equilibrium. See, now I'm sharp. I'm going to start releasing to tune. We're working in the right direction. We're going to start taking string tension off. Before we had to tune up, now we're tuning down. And if you're tuning down on your strings, you're putting less pressure on the bridge this way. And it's becoming less and less dramatic. Now, we just tuned it. Watch what happens. We're going to tune it one more time. Yeah, I think we went too far. We might have released or put too much spring tension on the back. And this is where you're going to do this 10, 12 times. We got a wonky G tuner here. I think this guitar is going to get tuners in its future. The B and the E were really, really close. Yeah, we're getting really, really close. Now when you get really close, it's time to do this. Oh, I got closer quicker than I thought. I got close quicker or sooner than I expected. Put your whammy bar in. All right, Come on, you. Get in there. What'd you do? And guess what? Now I got to tune 5 more times. Actually, it's getting really close. And our lift is in an acceptable point, but it's still more than I like. In other words, we're getting really close. We have found equilibrium, but I've got too much bridge lift here. I don't like that. It's just too much. Remember, I want about a 1/16 of an inch. So we're going to have to go back over and tighten up our screws a little bit more, but this time 1, 2. That's it. And make sure they're even so that you have an equal space there. Because now you're fine-tuning your equilibrium. Yep, it went sharp, so we're loosening, we're taking tension off of the guitar strings and letting the springs underneath put a little more tension to pull the bridge down closer to the body. I hope this is landing. And then try your whammy. Tune. Pretty darn close. Dead on. Dead on. Of course, G. Rotten Kidding class. You know, I got a wonky tuner there. Cheap guitar. And eyeball your bridge and where it's coming off right here. How much distance you have. If you don't have a measuring tool, just look at it and be comfortable with where it's at. Like I said, a credit card. If you took your credit card and slid it in there, that's going to be about where you want to be. It's still taller than I would like, but at this juncture, you're going to tune it one final time. Apply some whammy to it. And if you're getting stable, which I am, that means you have found equilibrium. Your guitar string tension is equal to the spring tension in the back of the guitar under here. But if you're not happy with the bridge lift, you still have to turn in slightly here, which I'm going to do. But for today's object lesson, we took this out. The strings come off. The spring tension in the back, you have to loosen the claw all the way out. Get the springs out. Unscrew this. Take it out. Put your new one in. And I showed you how to make sure that you don't bury your mounting screws, because this is not designed to be set in there like a rock. It has to be able to move. Thusly, when you do this, what you're actually doing is pulling up on that bridge and releasing string tension. That's what gives you that whammy. That's why they call it whammy. Well, this thing's coming right back into tune. I was going to pause and do this 20 times, but $100 guitar responds well. So, object lesson, get where you want to be here. Okay, 1/16 of an inch. It just needs to barely lift off the body. So right now, if this was a customer's guitar, which it's not, it's one of my workhorses, I would go back in there and do maybe not even a full turn, a half a turn on the claw one more time, and that will pull down my bridge even closer until I get to where I like the clearance. This guitar will play perfectly like this now. That is not written in stone, that measurement. Okay, it can be a little taller, it can be a little tighter. If you go too tight and it's burying itself on the body, then it has, when you go whammy, it has nowhere to go. You have to be able to go sharp and flat. And it's responding beautifully. So that's how you do it. And it is so close. I have let guitars go like that. If that's where they want to live, every instrument's a little bit different. If that's where it wants to live, that's where I would leave it. So object lesson today, change your bridge and saddle assembly, unhook the strings and the springs and the whatever. I hope you learned something from this video. We'll talk soon. Remember, if you dig what I'm doing, like and subscribe.